Then we have the projectors, and they also have this inconsistent energy to work. They're actually here to guide us. So once we're inspired interaction and we started to build the things that light us up, the projectors look at all of this and go, okay, I can see all the efficiencies. I can see deep into how you can tweak it, improve it, do less of this, better of that. They're our wise guides. But these people also are not designed to work in this way, like a 9-to-5 kind of way, because it'll burn them out really quickly. So they actually have to learn to do less to receive more.
Greetings and welcome to the Dr. Espen podcast. I am your host, Espen. Today I am joined by Emma Dunwoody. This is an exciting conversation about human design because Emma is a human design expert, master coach, author, behavioral specialist, and host of the leading global human design podcast. Definitely check out that podcast if you're interested in learning more about human design. Emma wakes people up to the power of their own potential using the unique method of transformational human design, which is what we'll talk a little bit about. This is a system of self-knowledge and guidance that allows people to find out more about themselves, which is what we're going to do today. We're going to have a conversation about human design. You probably have heard about human design. If you haven't heard about human design, you're in for an absolute treat. I think many who have heard of human design might have done the test, but might not be living like that or practicing or applying it properly, which is what I was talking to Em about just before we jumped in as to I've done my human design, but I don't really know how to use it, how it applies to me, and what the power is. So we're going to have that conversation today as well. Emma is here to, and part of her mission is to inspire people finding access to these very empowering and healing type systems. And she believes that she can transform, that we can transform personal development, education, and business forever using these kind of tools. So I'm excited to have you here, Emma. How are you today?
I'm really well, thanks. I'm excited to talk about human design with you.
Tell me about it. Tell us about it. For those maybe they've heard about human design, maybe they've done the test, maybe they haven't. What is human design? How does it work? And as you mentioned before, maybe we try and keep it simple.
Yeah, I love that. So human design, what is it? The way I love to sort of talk about the framework of it because of my background. So I'm a behavioral coach. I'm a profiler, meaning that I've used a lot of behavioral and personality profiling tools. The way that they work, like that might be Myers-Briggs or Enneagram or disc profiling, we use our mind. So we answer a bunch of questions, and at the end of it, we get this kind of reading of who we are. Now, if you have a really great facilitator, then they can be pretty accurate. However, we get the results from them from our mind, who we think we are. And what that does is it creates a big gap, like a cognitive dissonance, the gap between who we think we are and who we really are. Human design is actually the energetic blueprint that sits below all of that. It's the energy that informs what becomes your behavior, your personality, your identity, like all of these things that actually creates our reality. And human design and the gene keys, because I use the gene keys as well, but we won't go into that today because that's really getting complicated. But these are systems that actually help you discover your authentic blueprint. So we live in a world right now, and probably with the work that you do as well, we're kind of, the old paradigm is we're taught that this is the problem and this is the solution, and it kind of fits for everyone or most people. But what human design says is that that's not true, that we are all really individual, that when we understand our individual nuances and authenticity, then we go out into the world, we're going to be able to use our design to be guided to, let's say, the right teachers or the right opportunities or the right relationships that are actually correct for us. So human design itself is actually a synthesis of 4 ancient wisdoms, which is Western astrology, the Chinese I Ching, which is called the Book of Changes, and it's fascinating. There's some fascinating research on it at the moment, that they've now mapped it back through to the genetic codon, so the human codon. So we can see that there's this direct correlation.
Which is what gene keys comes from too, right? So I can see the integration between the two, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have the Kabbalah, Tree of Life, and we have the Hindu chakra system. So all four of these ancient wisdoms have actually been mathematically mapped on top of one another to give you your energetic blueprint. And I love to think of it as it's like this treasure map that we're born with that tells us where our greatest potential and authenticity lies.
Oh, holy smokes. Thank you for breaking it down. That's really cool. I get it. Okay, so we can do these tests online, and then we get to work with someone like you and or, different ways of understanding or understanding it. Can you tell us about what happens? So we do the test. Where do we do the test? And what do we get? And what can we do from there?
Oh, I love that. And I love that you just said the inner standing. That's really cool. That's exactly what this is all about. So what you need to get your human design is your accurate time of birth, the city you were born in, obviously the country and the day. And this, it's really interesting because when I first came to human design, I'm like, no, I am not asking my CEO clients, oh, can I have your birth time and date? And so I went down the rabbit hole to see like, well, what's the validity of this? Because I mean, obviously astrology's been doing it forever. It is actually technically our oldest science, I discovered. And what it's actually doing is it's a reading of these subatomic particles called neutrinos. Neutrinos, if you're curious, there's a massive facility that's, I think, worth millions, maybe billions of dollars in Japan studying them right now. So they're a real thing, and it's a real thing that happens to us when we're born. So they imprint us at that time, which gives us our energetic blueprint. It also, we take a reading from approximately 3 months before we're born. You can get that. I mean, you can go to my website, and of course, because my core talent, which Human Design and the Gene Keys tells me what that is to simplify things. So you can go to my website, get your chart, and then we've actually set it up so we'll send you to the right podcast episode for your type, for your profile, for, all the things that you need. And I've got a book, Human Design Made Simple, to really simplify those things. Because what you have to understand is human design is very complicated. There's so much information. And a lot of us human design geeks are so excited about it. We kind of want to jump to the details, and that can be very, very, very overwhelming. So a large part of my mission is to make sure that I empower people with the simplest and most profound parts of their charts, the things that are going to have the biggest impact, and get them experimenting with it straight away. Because the thing with human design, and I suppose this is where I really started to fall in love with it, is that it is actually an experiment. So it's not a dogma. It's not someone telling you who you are. It's meant to be an experiment. So when you get your design, and let's say you discover that I'm a manifesting generator, you're a 2-4 generator, sacral generator. Once you get that, it just is like, okay, so I even have an experiment model in the book. So here's how you actually experiment with it to see if it makes your life better. Because ultimately, human design is about getting out of the head, out of the conditioning, out of fear, and into the body, into the heart, into the soul, and being guided from our inner authority instead of giving our power away to somebody else.
Oh, okay. So we do the test, and then what? Do we change our life? Do we change our diet? Do we change? How does it?
Great question. So the first thing that we want to start with is we want to start with understanding what our type is. Okay, so there's technically 4, but most people talk about 5 types. And this is going to tell you how your energy works. So really briefly, the first type is a manifestor, and the way that energy works is it's like it works in creative urges. So when they're on, they can, lead, they're people that spark something new, that they're the trailblazers, the leaders. And then once the energy's not there, they kind of, they must rest and play. Then we've got generators like you and me, because I'm a manifesting generator, where we have consistent energy all the time to work, meaning that when we're lit up, so when our sacral says, yep, I got energy for this, then we can work and work and work. We're actually here, if the manifestors are here to initiate, to start things, to inspire people into action. The generators and the manifesting generators are here to build the new paradigm. And how do they know what to build? It's whatever lights them up. It's whatever they have energy for. Mm-hmm. Then the manifesting generators, they're this hybrid between the two, the manifestor and the generator. And these people, like me, are non-linear. They're multi-passionate. They can look a little bit hectic, like a lot of people say, it's like ADHD just MGs. And I'm like, no, it's not. But they are multi-passionate. They'll do lots of things. They tend to learn fast and get out quicker. They'll break things and then they will put something new together. So they're very much here to demonstrate human potential. And often they can feel like they're too much because they have a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, all sorts of things. Then we have the projectors, and they also have this inconsistent energy to work. They're actually here to guide us. So once we're inspired interaction and we started to build the things that light us up, the projectors look at all of this and go, okay, I can see all the efficiencies. I can see deep into how you can tweak it, improve it, do less of this, better of that. They're our wise guides. But these people also are not designed to work in this way, like a 9-to-5 kind of way, because it'll burn them out really quickly. So they actually have to learn to do less to receive more. And then the last type is our reflectors. So ultimately, they're on the planet. They're only 1% of the global population, so there's not many out there. However, they're incredibly powerful when it comes to energy. They're always reflecting back the truth of a relationship, a family, a company, a country, whatever it might be. So they're very, very important to tell us the truth of where we are really at. And to be a reflector can feel like it's almost like you can't put your flag in the ground when it comes to who am I, because you will ebb and flow and change almost chameleon-like depending on the people and the places that you're around. But that's perfect for them.
Wow. Okay. So now that we know this, then we can begin to, well, firstly, it sounds like we can understand ourselves better. And for example, if we are in a 9-to-5 and if we're not designed to work like that, we can potentially make some pretty major lifestyle changes. What have you seen in some of your clients that have realized, okay, hang on, this is my human design, but it may not be in alignment with how I'm living? What are some of the steps that we could take in that instance? The first step is obviously to do our profile, and then what?
Yeah, I think one of the big things when you first kind of do your human design and you read about it, and maybe you are a projector or a manifestor or a reflector that don't have this consistent energy, and you're like, yeah, that resonates. But seriously, if you see my life, like I can't actually change my life to look like that. And the truth is you absolutely can. If you follow the two things in human design that are like the most important things is your strategy and your authority. For example, your strategy is to respond. My strategy is to respond and inform. And again, you can find all of this on your profile when you get it. And your authority is your inner authority. So you're a sacral authority and I'm an emotional authority. So once you start to actually listen to them, they're going to guide you to how specifically you can change your life. Let me give you an example. So one of my clients, she was a primary school teacher and her parents were primary school teachers. She'd always done it. She was a projector. She worked really, really hard in a school that, once the kids went home, she was still there for a number of hours. And she was completely burnt out. She also had this pathway where she was about to go back to university and study to become, to do her master's, right? But she just knew she's actually splenic authority. She just kept getting these intuitive hunches that this wasn't the right path from her. Now, the thing was that all of her conditioning, all of her identity, who she thought she was from a unconscious mind perspective, this was the path that she had to take. But her spleen, her intuition was saying, this is not right. You actually need to follow this human design thing. So she just started experimenting with her strategy, with her authority. And what happened is over time, she went down to part-time. She picked up actually some work with us. She worked with as one of our coaches. She started doing some human design stuff. And over time, she didn't rush into anything. She decided not to go and do her master's, which was really hard for her, but at least for her mind and her ego. But she didn't do it. And then over probably 12 to 18 months, she was then offered her dream job, where as a projector, she worked from home. She basically just oversaw all of these people. She coached probably 3 hours a day and got paid more than she'd ever been paid before. So she didn't actually need to know where she was going. All she needed to do was follow her strategy and authority. And this happens time and time again. In fact, it's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing now, because I just followed my strategy and authority.
Oh, well, I get that exactly. So what would you say for a generator sacral? What does that mean for me, strategy authority? What are some of the things that you would say to a client when they work with you in the transformational side of things?
Yeah, cool. So one of the things that's really important about you is you must be following the things you have energy for that light you up. What can happen is because generators have a lot of energy, they will tend to do a lot of doing out of obligation. They will often tend to have limited boundaries and just let people like put stuff on their plate. And they will tend to also think or feel guilty when they follow what lights them up versus what they should do. So the transition is first just to understand, what is it that gives me energy? What is it that lights me up? And I always recommend that we start small. And so it's not about, oh my God, I need to get out of this job. What work lights me up? That's so big. And if we've just come to human design, it's still very much in our mind. We haven't integrated it into our body yet. So we just want to, like, I don't know, go to your favorite supermarket, or like, I know for me, I can go crazy in like an organic supermarket. Mm-hmm. And just walk up and down the aisles and just whatever jumps out at you, whatever you think, oh, God, I'd love to taste that, love to try that. Oh, that looks fun. That's your sacral. That's the sacral going, I've got energy for that. And once you really tap into that, and I'm actually watching your sacral respond at me right now. You just told me, yep, that actually absolutely happens for me. Because generators and manifesting generators, you'll see their sacral response through nodding and shaking their head. You'll see them move away when it's a no. You'll see them move forward when it's a yes. So once you build that relationship with your sacral, you actually get to the point that you won't override your gut. Whatever your gut feeling is, you'll just go there. But in the beginning, what you need to be very careful of is that when you're listening to this gut and it's, yes, I've got energy for this, no, I don't. If you just listen to the yes, no, great. But most people, their mind jumps in and says, but what about this? And what about that? And what if that happens? And I should this and I should that. So it's very much about getting away from the shoulds, coulds, woulds, and just listening to the gut. Now, the other super important thing for generators is that your strategy is to be in response. So especially in the personal development space, we are taught to go out and take massive action. And for most of the global population, I mean, unless you're a manifestor, that is absolutely incorrect. Generators are actually here to attract everything to them simply and easily, and then respond to the things that come to them. So every generator has the experience of going, oh my God, I want to create this. I want to do that. And they run after it and they like try and push it and force it. And it's like nothing happens. And then some random person comes up and says, hey, do you want to do this thing for me? And you're like, are you kidding me? Can it really be that easy? Yes, it can. But you have to be in response instead of initiating. I feel like that resonates.
You're blowing my mind right now.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here going, okay, I've been a human doing for a long time. I'm so passionate. I'm driving this big idea, and we're helping a lot of people. And, I'm just like, keep on always pushing to that next level rather than sitting back, waiting and magnetizing it to me. Is that kind of the summary here?
And I think the big thing, like being a generator or a manifesting generator, you're in response in every moment. It's not like you have to sit around and wait for something. And we create or we manifest what we feel. So if you actually just wait to respond to anything from watching a video and that inspires you to go and do something, to someone says, hey, I've got this idea to like take everything global and amplify it to, sit in front of Oprah, and that feels great, then go do it. But make sure it's outside of you. It's something that you're responding to, not something you're trying to force.
Oh, that's great for me in general. I mean, that's the power of coaching, right? That's the power of having a session with someone like Emma that's just like one sentence and it just drops.
Yeah.
It just lands. Thank you, Emma. I love this. Quick question. How can human design help us with business and wealth?
I love this question because one of the things that I teach a lot and I talk a lot about is that, I've got a very successful 7-figure business, leading global podcast. All my friends are like, how did you get into the US like that? I'm like, it was easy. And I'm always saying, like, I've broken every business rule. The way I hire people isn't the way people hire people. And I've literally just followed my strategy and authority. I have followed where my heart has wanted me to go. I have been, in response the whole time. So I think the big thing and how it can help us with business and wealth is understanding that we are in a pivotal time in human history. And if you're listening to this podcast, you are one of the few that have signed up to be the leaders of what we call in human design, the new paradigm, which means in so many cases, we don't have role models and mentors. We don't have people that have gone before us. And the models that used to work do not work now. So we're a lot of the people that are creating the new models and the new, everything. So what human design really helps us do in business is to override our conditioning, to trust our own inner authority, to actually follow our purpose, follow our soul, as opposed to going where we think we should go to get where we think we need to get. Because ultimately we can all feel, I don't know about you, but I can feel my destiny, if you like. I can feel what I'm here to create in the world. And honestly, human design has really given me the language of a lot of what I've felt on the inside. And this is something I hear a lot. And so in business, if you can trust yourself and if you can trust where you're being guided, then what's going to happen is you minimize resistance, you increase flow. And when you minimize resistance and increase flow, what does that mean? That means that you feel more abundant. And when you feel more abundant, then you experience more abundance. And one of the, actually, I'm just going to quickly skip to the Gene Keys very quickly because it's such a great teacher on the topic of abundance. The Gate 55 or Gene Key 55, which is, in human design, it's called the Gate of Abundance. And the 55, it really taught me what the truth of abundance is, because it's about freedom. It's about a freedom to be authentically you, to be spirited. I often use the metaphor of, think of a spirited horse or a spirited child. They don't give a rat's what anyone else thinks. They are like fully in life and free. And this is actually where abundance comes from. It comes from us being free to be ourselves. And then we realize that we have all of this abundance, like the whether it's the air we breathe, the water we drink, the friends we have. And once we realize that it's everywhere, then money just follows. And it's definitely my experience. And of course, human design being what it is, we can go much deeper and dive into your unique money frequency as well.
Okay, cool. So it's basically getting to know ourselves. It sounds like intuition plays a big role in this in general. Once you know yourself, it's kind of like trust yourself more. You find like a lot of your clients are, this might be a leading question, but stuck in our heads, in our minds, projecting rather than receiving. You mentioned that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. Because I think, a lot of my clients, so a lot of people that I work with, these are people that they've already done a lot of the work. They've learned how to take responsibility for their results, and they're leaders. And I think one of the really big things is we are taking so much on our own shoulders that, okay, I have to make this happen. I have this big mission inside of me and I have to make it happen. And the truth is, no, you don't. We now have this incredible research from HeartMath. We see Dr. Joe Dispenza. We know that our heart, our brain, our gut are connected to the collective consciousness. So whether you are spiritual or not, you are being guided by something greater than you. We know that from quantum physics now. So ultimately, the bigger question, the thing that a lot of my clients come to me for, not that they know that's what they're coming for, is to get out of their own way, to stop trying to force through the mind, like you say, and to in fact just take a step back and to be led as opposed to try and force yourself down a path.
Oh, this is a perfect segue into transformational human design. Tell us, what's the difference between, in essence, doing human design and what you talk about, which is the transformational human design?
So one of the things for me when I first came to human design, and I'm a 3/5, so I've got a very practical nature. And when I first came to human design, I was like, this is woo-woo and fluffy, but what does it actually mean? Like, where does the rubber hit the road? How does this influence change? Because that's what I'm all about. You know, I do what I do because I was told over 20 years ago when I was diagnosed with depression, panic disorder, that I'd never heal from it, that I would have to learn to manage it. And that was just not an option for me. So this was this catalytic moment where I was like, well, if I can work out how I got into this chair and this diagnosis, I'm sure I can work out how to get myself out of it. So for me, I wanted human design to be like that, a practical way that we can actually use it day to day instead of it just being this kind of esoteric, fluffy, like, oh yeah, I'm such a generator or I'm such a manifestor. Like, nah, I don't care about that. I care about results. And so I created Transformational Human Design, which is human design, the gene keys, and all of my transformational models, if you like, from, you know, changing our brain, because ultimately we can love on our human design. And if we are really good and we do our experiment to the T, then they say it takes 7 years to completely recondition and your life will be different. I'm a manifesting generator, stuff 7 years. Like, I'm not waiting 7 years. I want the fast track. Again, that's what MGs are like. So for me, transformational human design is using all of the brain-based coaching, the behavioral coaching, using human design and the gene keys so that I can really help people, yes, clients that I work with, but also self-coach themselves to become their most authentic self.
I love that. I love how you've merged it. It's the same thing as what I did in my work as well. I managed that there were different, I realized that there were different systems that I all wanted to use. And I saw what had transformed my life the most. You know, for example, you mentioned the chakra system, and then I looked at emotions and I looked at the mindset and I looked at breath work and meditation and quantum physics. And I just merged the things that worked for me. And now I have the quantum method, which is, you know, similar to the way of synchronizing what you've done in your own way. I know we don't want to go too deep into it, but I want to just quickly mention Gene Keys. I interviewed Richard Rudd a little while ago, and I bought the book Gene Keys. I did the test online, and I looked at my cities, and I just went, yeah. And then I looked at my shadows, and I went, yeah, very accurate. How did you find that? I get the I Ching system. I see that, and human design, that just makes sense. But how do you find that those two go hand in hand in your transformational method? Because I, for one, I'm going to book an appointment with you. I don't know if you're accepting, you know, new people, but yep, I'll pop in there and we'll have a chat, you know?
Yeah, let's do it. Sounds great.
How did you find that those two linked and synced up, and what does that mean for your clients?
Yeah, so this is such a cool question, and it really talks to the person that I am and my design. So the reason why the Gene Keys is so incredible, especially because I'm a behavioral coach that is fascinated by transformation. So what that means is I really want individuals and myself to understand where we're at, where we want to go, and how to get there. So there's a journey, right? Now, the Gene Keys in human design, let's say we'll read a gate, and for example, in the Gene Keys, your core talent, because I actually just looked it up quickly when you showed me a chart, is the fifth Gene Key or gate 5. Now, that's great. Like in human design, it's the gate of routine. It's someone who's really in systems. It's someone who has their kind of like own way of going about things. It's a very logical energy. But in the Gene Keys, it's all about, it starts with impatience in the shadow. Then it moves to patience in the gift. And then it goes to timelessness in the Siddhic state. So all of a sudden, as a transformational coach, here we have our journey. So once we can own and identify, like, shit, impatience is a big player in my life. Okay, I accept that shadow lives within me, and maybe I accept that I've been dancing with that way too much. So it's time to own it, accept it, but then integrate it and go, well, that's just a part of who I am. However, I have a choice. I have a choice to now focus on patience, because what you're telling me is my core talent is patience. It means that the more I am patient, the more I slow down, the faster I'm going to go. So my energy will now be focused on patience, not impatience. And the great thing is that once impatient pops its head up, you're like, wow, I am right now in this moment operating from fear, not love. Because if I was operating from love, then I would be patient, not impatient. So for me, it's this beautiful way of actually being very conscious of the transformation that we're taking. And then our acidic states, they kind of like drop in and out. It's not, I think some people are like, yeah, I'm just like in my city all the time. No, you're not. You're not. It's just not. I mean, Richard Rudd's not. Even the Dalai Lama is probably maybe the exception to the rule, but he's skipping into his gift sometimes too. Mm-hmm. But the point is that when you know, for example, with the 5, that timelessness is this acidic state, then it means you're consciously aware of something. And when you have that experience, whatever that is for you, of timelessness, you can be aware of that, like, wow, this led me to this. So it's like, okay, I'm on the right path. I'm fully embodied in my gifts. I actually had this glimmer of, and it could be anything from 30 seconds to 3 days. And, you know, the further we go, yes, like hopefully before we kind of toddle off this mortal coil, we're spending most of our time in our acidic states. But that's why I love the Gene Keys, because it really gives us the journey that we're on and a very practical way to know where we're at.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for bridging those two. It makes a lot of sense. Now, I just want to bring up a couple of resources for the listeners and viewers. This is definitely worth checking out. So we've got Emma's website, which is emmadunwoody.com, which is EMMA DUNWOODY, so dunwoody.com, emmadunwoody.com /get your chart, which is get-your-chart. Now, we'll drop those in the notes here. But what happens? So we go to your website, we do the chart, and then obviously we want to tune into the Human Design podcast if we want to learn more. But Emma, once we've done the chart, how does the process work after that?
So one of the options you do have with us is we will give you the option to buy, I think it's like a 60-page, like it's a really detailed, what we call unpack of your chart. And what I recommend is once you have that, then you can start to experiment with it. Again, through this process, you're going to be sent off to there's a whole series on my podcast about the roadmap. Okay, you have your human design, what now? So it teaches you where to go first. So strategy, authority, what does that mean? This is what it means, and this is how you experiment with it. Then you're going to go to your profile. So you're a 2-4 profile. This is really important. In the old knowledge, they call it the costume of your purpose. For me, it's your how. It's how you learn. It's how you serve. It's how you move through life. So, for example, for you, you're a 2-4. So what's really important for you to understand is that, number one, you are a naturally talented human. You have to follow the things that come easily to you are the things that you're here to do on the planet. The catch is you think they're easy, so you don't think they're valuable. So oftentimes the line 2s, those natural talents, they disregard them. So they stay in their conditioning. They try to do and be what other people think they should do and be. And by the way, line 2s hate authority. They hate being told what to do. They don't like to learn from teachers. They're going to do what they want to do. They express emotion outwardly. So these are people that they're like, I'm going to do it my way. They're also people that once they have their natural talents, they go away, they hermit. They go away and they work on them. And then what happens is people are like, can you really help me with this? Oh my God, you're really good at that. They start to project those talents back onto you, which is telling you that your energy is ready to take it out, take it to the world. And then your other profile line is the line 4. And as a line 4, your foundations in life, your safety in life comes from relationships. So you need to be so conscious of the relationships that you have in your life, because if you are hanging out with people or in business with people or whatever, networking with people that don't feel great and that don't listen to you, then you're never going to step fully into your power or your purpose, because you are here to spread ideas and information and do it through your community. So often one of my marketing experts, she's always like, God, if you're a line 4, don't even bother with marketing. Just tell your friends, just network. Obviously that is not a scalable option, but Like it's all about relationships for you. Does that resonate?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Makes a lot of sense. And the response, as you mentioned before, definitely cool. Okay, so we go to the website, we complete the survey or the is it a questionnaire? Let me get it right.
Nope, you just put your time of birth in, put your details in. It takes like 2 minutes, and then you'll get your chart straight away.
Yep. And then we can choose to pay a little bit extra, which we probably should, to get that full comprehensive report. And then what?
And then you can go to all the places on the podcast. And then otherwise you can come and join. I actually have a monthly club. I think it's $27 that you can come along. And it's called the Authentic Success Club, where we break down the simplest parts of human design, make them super practical, give you little homework exercises every month to just get you integrating it. Because I think one of the things that I'm really passionate about is the integration piece. Mm-hmm. We have to make sure that we can take all this knowledge and actually do it, it become part of our everyday being, as opposed to it just staying in our mind. Because otherwise, what's the point? What's the point in learning all of this stuff if we're not actually living it? We're not actually being it. So ultimately, that's the way that we can help people. And you can go onto my website. We have so many people there that can unpack your chart for you. And we have like a huge collective community, HDX, which is incredibly powerful. So that's all sorts of people learning their human design. We have like a business stream, and we have like an individual stream where we dive into every area of human design and the gene keys. We actually have Richard Rudd's right-hand person. He trains a lot of the gene keys in there as well. So yeah, there's so many ways. I mean, I'm a manifesting generator. There's 100 ways you can come and check out our stuff.
Mm-hmm. How does this work? So a lot of my clients, and including myself, we're, high net worth, high performing individuals. And we're looking at this going, okay, I'm a CEO, I'm a founder, I'm a director, and now I've just done my chart, and now I want to learn how I can implement this in my organization. Mm-hmm. For example, for me in Response, I'm the CEO. So how would you implement some of these things on that high executive level?
Well, you know what? It's probably at that level, when people have got to a certain level of success, what it kind of presupposes is that at a certain level, you're already in alignment with your design. So for you, it would probably be more about the 1%. So how do we improve the 1%? Because there's probably a bunch of things that you're doing that you don't need to be doing. Yeah. Because once you get to that level, it's all about minimizing, delegation, like really being in your authentic superpower and kind of letting everyone else take care of it. So one of the really important places for you would to be getting super clear of what you're doing that you're just not designed to be doing, that you're not lit up to be doing. The other place that it's really important is building the team around you. So when you understand, so for me, when I started my business, even though it was just this tiny little business, I always knew it's going global, it's going to be massive. And the person who's now the COO of my business, she's a manifesting generator, so she can keep up with my speed. She's a 5-1 profile, which are these people that can like basically build anything to global standards, because 5s are all about global impact. So then you can actually look at the people that you surround yourself with. It's a great way to hire people. Again, like when we were hiring our EA, we wanted to make sure that we had someone who had a lot of energy. We wanted details, so we wanted a line 1. So again, we ended up with a manifesting generator. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone needs manifesting generators or line 1s in their business, but the point is that you can curate teams that suit you. I move really fast, so I need people that move fast with me. Yeah. But let's say if you're a projector, your team's going to look really different. It's going to be about how can I rest a lot and study a lot and work a little, So when I'm working with clients that are projectors, let's say they're starting their business, we're all about automation. We're all about, how can we use AI to support you? Where are the places that we can create more time to give it back to you? Whereas for me, if you're an MG, in the beginning, like go out, have a crack, try a few things, see what works. For a generator, it's like, okay, well, where are you most lit up? What's the path you see unfolding in front of you? So there's all these different strategies that you can do. And then the deeper you go into your design, then you really, really get a much clearer understanding. So, for example, I just wrote down the numbers of your incarnation cross, and so your personality sun is called gate 38, and it's called the gate of the fighter. This is the energy of when you're in your shadow, it's fighting for the sake of fighting. But when you're in your gift, when you're fully expanded into that, this is a person that fights for what matters. This is get the hell out of his way, because he's going to find a way. It's actually called the warrior of light. So it's this beautiful energy that can be really scrappy and fighty in its shadow. But when it's attached to meaning, then it's a really unstoppable warrior energy. And you've got the 39 in your personality earth, which is the other warrior gate. And this is all about innovation. In its shadow, it's provocative. It's just poking the bear for no reason. But in its higher expressions, it's all about, let's poke the bear to see how we can make this thing better. What happens if I do this? What happens if I do that? What happens if we tweak this? So when you know all these details, you can build a very specific team around you to support you, as well as improving those 1%.
Oh, drop the mic. Very accurate. Very, very accurate.
Yeah, resonate. Good.
Yes, so good. And you know what? It goes to show, for example, when I recruit and hire people, I always want to hire people that are better than me. They can do it faster, better, and cheaper, particularly in a leadership position, which has been incredible. So I'm already doing much of what you speak of, but the biggest ones were, do I have energy for this? And respond. Don't push, wait, and respond. Now, would you also, this might be a simple yes question, but also potentially how would you recommend for a business owner to, go to your website, get the test done for their employees as well? And how would we then use that, one, with our existing employees, and two, with future hires as well?
Yeah, that's a really cool question. So the first thing we always want to do is you want to identify.
And family, maybe. Sorry to interrupt, but, for the people in our community, right?
Yeah, that's two really great questions. I'll address business first, and then I'll go to family. So with business, the first thing you want to do is you want to identify what you need. That's what you want. You want to identify what you need in that role. And then perhaps you get my Human Design Made Simple book, and you read through the traits and you go, okay, cool. We probably want a generator to do this. We probably want, them to have a line 5, because they're all about systems and growth. Or maybe you're going to hire a coach and you're like, I think maybe we should get a projector. Maybe we want to have, a line 1, whatever, So you try and match the two together, and then you're kind of informed. But ultimately, it comes down to your strategy and authority. So we go through this whole process. We know who it is. We have all of the resumes. We have all of the designs. We whittle everything down, and then we just interview and we let our authority guide. So at the end of the day, we don't let our mind decide. We actually let, the person, and this has not failed for us ever. And I have an exceptional team. In fact, I have a team that every time someone deals with any member of my team, they either want to steal them off me or just hire them for themselves. And I'm like, yeah, it's a hard no. They are all full-time for me. And it's because I've just done it. They've always done it this way. Now, the other beauty, and this is kind of like business and transitions into family, is the power of understanding someone else's design. So this is any sort of relationship that you have. We do it on the podcast. There's a lot of parenting. You have to go back quite a bit, but there's a whole parenting series, because we're kind of taught this golden rule: treat people as you like to be treated. But what Human Design said is, treat people as they're designed to be treated.
Oh yeah.
So all of a sudden, yeah, right. You understand, hey, I've expected, and my ex-husband, for example, I was always like, dude, how come you want to sleep after you've been driving for half an hour? And I can drive for 5 hours. What's wrong with you? But he's a projector. So he's not designed to have the energy that can do that. And he is he can drive a long time, but he needs a nap. He needs a 10-minute nap every hour or two, whatever. But all of a sudden I'm like, oh, you're just not like me. You don't have the energy that I have. You're just different. And as a parent myself, I have 2 boys, raising them in alignment with their design as opposed to reading parenting books and how I should raise them, has really paid off. Like, I have 2 teenage boys, and all teenage boys make really crappy choices. Like, let me be clear. But the way they've navigated through those choices, because they trust themselves, they love themselves, they believe in themselves, because I've let them lead in alignment with their design, if you like. They still have rules, they still have structures, blah, 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 but they have been taught very young an empowered way of being as opposed to a disempowered way of being. So it's so powerful in every part of your life, because once you start to see people the way they're designed as opposed to you just projecting who you are onto them, it changes everything.
You just completely redid that saying. I will never use that saying again. Like, don't treat people the way you want to be treated. I get that, but treat people the way they are designed to be treated. I mean, that is the difference between a fish and a monkey. Einstein said, if you judge a fish by its capacity to climb a tree, it'll spend its entire life thinking that it's stupid. I can see so much of this. And I think, in this world of great awakening that we're experiencing, I think part of it is to come back to ourselves and shine our light. And you've just provided us not only a great tool, but profound insights as to how we can do this as well. So I got one last question for you straight off the cuff, Emma, please.
Sure.
All right. So here's the question. I want you now to imagine that you are on the world stage. Every sentient being alive has gathered, watching and tuning in to your message to the world. When you're ready, take a breath and do share. What is your message to the world right now?
Everything that you're looking for is within you. And I'm not just telling you that, I'm giving you the treasure map to find it. The most important thing we need to understand is that the power we're looking for is within. And when we access that, when we realize, like Wayne Dyer, and I think someone said this way before him, but I heard Wayne Dyer say it, that everything we need is within. And I was like, yeah, I feel that. That resonates. But how do I get at it? Like, how do I actually access it and trust it? And this is how we trust it. Because ultimately we've been taught that someone outside of us knows better for us than we do. And they don't. And this is so important for the world that we're creating. Because when we start to come back to ourselves, we realize that we are beings of love, not fear. Although we've been taught and controlled and manipulated through fear, we are actually beings of love. And the more that we love, trust, and accept ourselves, the more we love, trust, and accept others. And we're actually designed to all get along, to all be fair and equal, to all love each other. And once we actually can do that for ourselves and express our true authenticity, then we can do nothing but give that to others as well. So, yeah.
Love it. Ladies and gentlemen, Emma Dunwoody. This is Emma Dunwoody in one word.com. And you can get your charts done on that website. And also check out the Human Design podcast. I'm going to do that as a father. I'm going to go and review that, the parenting side of things. And I'm also going to ensure that my loved ones in my inner circle, including me, adding in the information about my son to find out his charts as well. And looking forward to having another chat with you as to how we can integrate and apply some of these things. Thank you for your work and thank you for your time.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's been so much fun. And thanks for the opportunity to chat.
It's a privilege and a pleasure. Go check out her website, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.